right, good morning everybody. What a beautiful Saturday morning to bring so many people together. Welcome to the ribbon cutting ceremony of the oldest operating Thunderbolt siren in the world. I am Julie Stimson, the Director of Sedgwick County Emergency Management and today's moderator. I am so honored and grateful that you all took the time on this beautiful Saturday morning to help us celebrate the 70 years of public warning that this Thunderbolt siren has provided and will continue to provide to our community. Today's ceremony highlights the history of the Thunderbolt siren that takes us back to the Cold War and civil defense era. We will also be honoring two public servants who set the path on how this siren and others in the entire outdoor warning system is used today. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize distinguished guests who include elected officials in attendance. Sedgwick County Commissioners, Commissioner Dennis, Commissioner Howell, Commissioner Lopez, and her sweet little babies are here, and Commissioner Beatty. Thank you. From Park City, we have Mayor John Lenher. We have City Council members from Park City, Ms. Brandy Bailey, who is also our County Treasurer, Charles Schwenke, and Jim Schroeder. Thank you for being here today. Any other elected officials that I may not have mentioned, please raise your hand to be recognized. I'd also like to welcome several fire chiefs. I see the Fire Chief Derby is here. There's Chief Williams from Sedgwick County District 1 is here. Any other fire chiefs, please raise your hand to be recognized. Thank you for being here. And other first responders, I see several police, law enforcement, I see a few police chiefs. Again, thank you for being here, and all other first responders. There's two very special families with us here in attendance, who you will hear very much more about as this program goes forward. Mr. K.U. Benjamin's children. Collectively, they have traveled over 12,000 miles to be here today. So honored to have you here. And the family of Sergeant Paul Hansen, who again we'll hear more about here later. Thank you again for coming. They have traveled from other states as well to be here. So today's sequence of events, we have several speakers for you here today before we actually activate the siren. And I know we already mentioned it, but if you need hearing protection, please let us know. We'll get hearing protection out to you. First off will be Sedgwick County Commissioner Ryan Beatty with the 4th District, who will give us a few words. All the way from Illinois, we have the Federal Signal Vice President and General Manager of Systems, Mr. Brent Gamble. Sedgwick County Emergency Management Deputy Director Jonathan Marr will share the stories of our two public servants and talk a little bit about the history of the siren. We have Chance Hayes with the National Weather Service, who will say a few words for us to kick off Severe Weather Preparedness Week. And we have several of our media partners here in attendance as well. So please, once the ceremony is over, visit. We got Storm Tracker 3 here from KSM. We got a display from Goddard Enterprises. And I believe we're going to be able to see some of the fire trucks here at Station 32. At the conclusion, I will end with a few remarks and special thanks. And that's what we're here. So at this time, I'll welcome Commissioner Beatty to say a few words.
And all the team in emergency management. I want to thank the Benjamin and Hansen family for being here. We're families that had quite a fingerprint on this community in our emergency management response. So I know it was probably a heavy lift to get here, and we appreciate that you're here today. This is a significant day for our community, so thank you for being here. Also, and we'll talk a little bit about it shortly, but the historical significance of what this is, it means a lot. And it means a lot that it's housed right here in District 4 in Park City for a variety of reasons. But this is beyond a historically significant event for me personally. This is also something that has some personal significance. May 22nd, 2011 is a day that is seared into my memory. It was a Sunday afternoon, about 5 o'clock. And at that point in time, my phone and the TV station started going off, and we were alerted as to an event that was happening. The world was being alerted to an event that was happening in Joplin, Missouri. what we learned was that an F5 tornado ravaged an entire community and killed 158 people that day. Now, it's personal for me. In a previous vocation, I had 2 retail stores in Joplin, Missouri, and I had about 18 employees that lived in Joplin. And when I think about this, and what this is designed to do in our emergency management response, I remember that day. Couldn't call anyone, couldn't get through on the phone, all the communication systems were down. In fact, I went there the next day, and I can never describe what I saw. Trees that were left standing, and there weren't many, had no bark left on them. Our store was completely leveled. We had a box truck that we found a quarter mile down the road, wrapped up into a ball. And again, 158 people lost their lives that day. One specific employee and his family, named Jared Winters, lived in an apartment complex about 2 miles away from our store. Him and his boys were playing video games that day, and he said he heard a faint signal, a faint siren outside that caught his attention. They didn't expect severe weather at that point in time, but he heard this siren go off, and it caught his attention. He turned the TV on and saw tornado watch, then tornado warning, and in his gut he knew that something wasn't right. So he grabbed his family, his 2 boys, and head down to our store to take shelter. Now, the decision that he made was prompted because he was alerted by emergency management alerts. And the apartment complex that he was at and lived in was leveled to the ground, and 18 people lost their life in that apartment complex. He will tell you, and I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, the alert that was given that day saved his life and saved the lives of his 2 boys. So when we stand here today and we talk about the historical significance, for me, there's incredible personal significance because I know that these devices save lives. And it's particularly interesting that this part where we're here today, and I'm so grateful that this is being housed here in Park City, because this has public safety significance too. This area, I would consider it for many years to be much of a dead zone in regards to alerts. This is desperately needed in this community so that the people of North Park City in particular can be alerted. I pray, and God forbid anything ever happen like what happened in Joplin here in this community. But what we can control, emergency management, they promise to control. And if that day ever does dawn on this community, we're going to do everything we can to make sure the citizens around here are alerted so they can take safety. So this is a wonderful day. You're going to hear a lot about the historical significance. I'm grateful that you're here today. I'm grateful that this is here in Park City. I'm grateful that Chief Williams and his crew here at Fire Station 32 are going to be good stewards and protect this thing for us. And we want to welcome you to District 4 of Central County. So Julie, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Commissioner Beatty, for the personal story. Thank you for sharing that story. Next up, we have Mr. Brent Gambrill from Federal Signal, who came in from Illinois to be here today. He's going to say a few words about Federal Signal.
So thank you. My name is Brent Gambrill. I'm representing Federal Signal here today. Just when we heard about the event, we had to come down. It's such unique, inspiring stories that I read. So just a little bit of history, right? The Thunderbolt siren we manufacture in the Chicagoland area. We still manufacture in the Chicagoland area today. This model happens to be retired. I believe the last time we built this was '88, but we have our newer generation of sirens that they'll be utilizing here in Sedgwick County. I'd also like to recognize our manufacturer's rep for the state of Kansas, Brian Cates with Blue Valley Public Safety in the back there. And I'd also like to recognize Andy Goddard with Joe Goddard Enterprises. He services and maintains the siren system here. So you have a great group of people with a lot of experience with sirens, supporting your emergency management team here, and you're in good hands. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Brent. Next up is Jonathan Marr, Deputy Director of Sedgwick County Emergency Management, and he's going to be sharing a lot of information about this siren as well as honoring our two public servants and family members who are here today.
Good morning. Welcome, Benjamin family and Hanson family. This is a pretty great turnout here today. Glad everyone made it and the weather held out for us. So, in August of 1949, that's how far back we need to go to start telling this story about when this story started. The former Soviet Union tested their first atomic bomb. And the shockwave from that test kind of reverberated through the spines of every American. And I think it scared us to the point where we had to pass legislation in 1950, just a few short months later, the Civil Defense Act of 1950. And that Civil Defense Act really set the framework for the installation of not only this equipment, but things like fallout shelters, emergency control centers, volunteer programs such as auxiliary police officers, sky spotters. This equipment was installed because we were worried that we were going to be attacked by an adversary. And more importantly, it was installed because the atomic bomb, we had created something that was really scary. We were fearful that it could be used against our population. So this equipment was designed to warn people so that they may take the necessary action to save their own lives. And what's even more remarkable is that it's still here. 70 years later, it is still here serving the public as it was intended. In 1951, the Benjamin family's over here for those who don't know, and Wichita Police Sergeant Paul Hance's family is sitting on this side. But in early 1951, Kenneth Urban Benjamin, better known as KU Benjamin, traveled to Springfield, Missouri for a demonstration on the latest technology of air raid siren systems. And this was what he demonstrated in November of 1951. 6 short months later, he installed the first outdoor air raid siren on top of the Roosevelt School. And coincidentally, all of his children attended the Roosevelt School, so they remember when that siren was installed. And back then, KU Benjamin was appointed by the Civil Defense Office of Sedgwick County. It was the Wichita-Sedgwick County Civil Defense Office. They appointed him as the general chairman of the warning branch. And as general chairman, he was in charge of procuring this equipment, installing it, maintaining it, testing it, making sure that it worked the way that it was intended. And it was no surprise to us that he was a volunteer, because at the core of our organization, whether we were civil defense or civil preparedness or disaster management or emergency management, our name has changed so many different times, but our mission has always really been the same. And that's been citizen preparedness and warning and volunteerism. We were founded on volunteerism. And it was a volunteer who installed these. And we still have volunteer teams here today. We have CERT team members. You've probably seen them in their vest today. We have our K-9 search team members. They've been here helping today. But the point I'd like to make is that if you think that you can't make a difference volunteering, you absolutely can. KU Benjamin is one example of that. We also have Roger Teachman, who's here today. Where's Roger? He's standing he's hiding now. Roger Teachman has been a volunteer for emergency management for 40 years this year. And while he doesn't want to be recognized for it, that is a very long time to volunteer your time to one organization, and we're forever grateful. We have another volunteer here
Her name is Edie Wiley. She's a canine handler. And in December, she found a missing child in Sumner County, and that child was returned to their family safely, which was a very big success story. Where is she? Oh, she's sitting on the ground over here. So, and I raise all these things because volunteers really do matter when it comes to large events, disasters, air raids. We cannot combat the challenges of the size of these events without people who live in our community standing up to help us mitigate this. I mean, it's devastating, the amount of damage these things cause, and we can never muster enough professional public servants to respond to them. And I thank all of our volunteers who are here today for this event, and we also thank KU Benjamin for the purpose of why we're here. This particular siren is serial number T75, which is the 75th Thunderbolt siren ever produced in 1951 or 52. We're not quite sure when it was manufactured, but it went back way too far, and the records don't exist anymore, unfortunately. This siren behind me was installed on top of the movie screen at the old 54 Drive-In at Kellogg and Rock. After they tore the drive-in down, they moved the siren across the street to the Eastgate Shopping Mall, where it sat for 70 years on its pole. Every tornado warning, every time it was tested or activated, it sat at Kellogg and Rock for 70 years. The siren that we have mounted to the trailer here, this is our public outreach tool. This is T79, the 79th siren ever made. And this sat in plain view for 70 years. And back in the 1950s, Plainview was a really happening area near the air base there. We also have two other sirens that we took down and had refurbished. They're installed at Sedgwick County Fire Station 38. That is T104. And we have another one that was installed at Wichita Fire Station 20 at Greenwich and Pawnee, and that is T116. And they account for the 4 oldest continually serving Thunderbolt sirens in the world. And based on news articles from 1951 to 1955, it was very clear that KU Benjamin not only laid the groundwork for the outdoor warning system that we have here today, but he thoughtfully, carefully measured, tested, maintained all of this equipment, and we are still doing things that he started 70 years ago. The way we set up sirens and measure the decibels and how far they go so we know where to put the next siren, we still do those things, and they're all highlighted in the articles that we have posted around. So for most of you here today, you may have never heard of KU Benjamin's name before, but almost every Sedgwick County resident since the 1950s has heard the work that he has done. And I don't know how many people that is, but we currently have 524,000 people that live in Sedgwick County today. So generations of Wichitans have heard his work. On June 10th, 1958, in El Dorado, there was an EF3 tornado, or an EF4 tornado, that went through. It was devastating, and it killed 13 people and injured nearly 100. The very next evening, on June 11th, at 10:50 p.m., the Wichita Weather Bureau issued a tornado warning. They called police dispatch and said, hey, there's a tornado. We think there's going to be a tornado in East Wichita. Sergeant Paul Hansen decided to call his supervisor and ask permission to activate the air raid sirens to warn of the tornado. His supervisor didn't answer the phone. So he tried the city manager. The city manager was out of town. Using his own discretion, Wichita Police Sergeant Paul Hansen reached over and made the decision to hit the button and sound the air raid sirens for a weather event. And it's the first such time that we know of that ever happened. That a piece of equipment designed to warn of an air raid was used to warn of a weather event. Since that day, these sirens have become synonymous with tornadoes. We don't even think of them as air raid sirens anymore. They're tornado sirens. It's common knowledge. And we believe that it was Sergeant Paul Hansen's button push that created that ripple effect, and generations of and who knows how many generations of Wichitans took shelter or sought shelter in their basements, and were able to save themselves. Coincidentally, the night that Sergeant Paul Hansen hit the button to warn of that tornado, the Benjamins were at home. And they remember that siren going off on June 11th, 1958, and they remember going to their basements. And I believe you had family members that were visiting from out of town, if I'm not mistaken, and they were scared because I don't think they were from here, if I remember correctly. So, and I'm not even sure if KU Benjamin and Sergeant Paul Hansen knew each other. I don't think they did know each other. So that was the first time that ever happened. And that goes to another point that I'd like to make about public servants. You know, we have volunteers that volunteer their time, but we also have public servants that show up every single day and make decisions and have perform actions that save people's lives. I mean, we have firefighters, police officers, we have Officer Donahue from the motor unit here representing Wichita PD, and Sergeant Paul Hansen used to work as a motor officer for the traffic division in Wichita Police Department before he was a sergeant in police dispatch. And they remember him bringing his motor home at the end of his shift, which is pretty cool. But with public servants, if you think being a public servant you're not changing people's lives, you absolutely are. And you have an opportunity to show up for a regular shift and make a decision that changes the way we do everything forever. And that happened on June 11th, 1958. Another thing we learned last week, or 2 weeks ago, and while both of these men passed away, Sergeant Paul Hansen passed away in 1978, and Kenneth Benjamin passed away in 2002. Both men are buried at the Whitechapel Cemetery no less than 30 feet away from each other. So for two people to be honored in the same ceremony 70 years after all of this happened, and for them to not know each other and be buried 30 feet apart in the same cemetery, there's some serendipity or some fate that's happening there. So what we would like to do now is invite Okay, great. So we're gonna have we're gonna do our ribbon cutting, and then following the ribbon cutting, we're gonna do a ceremonial activation of the siren. It will be loud. If you don't have hearing protection, we will make sure that there is a delay between the actual ribbon cutting and the actual sounding. So if people need to take cover or sit in their vehicles, I know Commissioner Lopez, we need to get your babies inside. But we'll invite firefighters from Station 32 over here, as well as our county commissioners. invite the Hansons. Come on up. Sergeant Paul Hanson's children and KU Benjamin's children. If you'd like to come up, we'll give you some scissors.
All right, help us count down from 5 to celebrate the 70 years of public safety through this Thunderbolt and the family members. And here's also to another 70 years. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now is the time if you want to put hearing protection on. We will be activating the siren for 1 minute. If you would like to go indoors, you are more than welcome to as well. We do have a conference room inside. We'll give you guys a few minutes and we'll count down the siren activation. It will be loud.
Sorry, I turned it off.
Yeah, go ahead.
But we're going to get it.
All right, does anybody need more time for hearing protection? We are going to count down here very soon. All right, all the babies, all the children got their ears ready? Okay, fantastic. This again will sound for 1 minute, so it will be very noisy for 1 minute. We'll count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It appears we have a technical difficulty. But we have a backup plan. If the button doesn't work, we've got a plan B because emergency management. Oh, here we go. So during a tornado event, that will sound for 5 minutes, correct? Yes. So 5 minutes of that when there is an actual tornado warning or a tornado on the ground.
Obviously, that was our worst fears realized.
Technician had one job and failed.
All right. So this turned into a really big event, and we have a few people we need to thank for getting us here today. And we have an incredibly complicated outdoor warning system. And a couple years ago, Joe Goddard Enterprises joined our efforts to maintain our outdoor warning system. And since that time, everything for us has changed. When we began taking down this old equipment to replace it with new equipment, we actually received a lot of complaints. You can't take these down. What are you going to do with them? Are you going to throw them away? Are you going to scrap them for metal? And honestly, that's kind of what we were going to do initially, until the complaints started rolling in. And I know there's a handful of you that are here today are some of those complainants. So thank you for coming, and thank you for educating us on just how iconic these Thunderbolt sirens are to the civil, not only the civil defense era, but to warning in general. So with that, Joe Goddard Enterprises has put in an enormous amount of effort and work and care into refurbishing and restoring these sirens to the way that they came off the line in 1952. And we would not be here today without their expertise and their partnership in our system. And honestly, there's just not enough good things that I can say about Goddard Enterprises. So Andy, if you could come up, Andy, Logan, Ryan, if you guys could come up here for a moment. So I was having a conversation with somebody and they said, is a certificate of appreciation enough? And yes, it is. These guys work for us. But this is an actual document that it honestly certifies our appreciation for what your company has brought to our outdoor warning system, and we'll be forever grateful for this. It'll be a symbol that we point to, for the next 70 years whenever we have a public event, whenever we bring this to a parade or to a fair, and we're able to educate people. You have enabled us to do all of these things, and we could not be more grateful for that. So I have a certificate and some patches for you guys. And this is Andy Goddard with Joe Goddard Enterprises. We cannot thank you enough. Here today goes to these guys. The efforts here for your Sedgwick County warning system, Ryan Dean has just gone above and beyond. He's a Wichita resident. Hogan Schultz, he is a network engineer, a siren enthusiast. Both of them are siren enthusiasts. And they put their heart and soul into everything they do. And I just, as an owner, could not ask for anything. So thank you guys. And one more. So we were able to tell a story today about it's our siren story, really, with Kenneth Urban Benjamin and Wichita Police Sergeant Paul Hansen. But this story just kind of materialized in all of this equipment coming down. We were just going to restore them and put them back up and make them historical points of interest. But there is actually a civil defense siren enthusiast group on social media, and they actually did all of their, this one person did all of the research that enabled us to tell this story. He sent us articles and he would message me on Facebook and say, hey, I found this about, Sergeant Paul Hansen, or I found this about former Director Charles Bond, and this story just started forming about how we got to where we are and where it all started. And I'd really like to thank Jared Harrell, who was here today, and if he could come on up, Jared. And you drove up from Texas?
Yeah, yes I did.
I think we have people here from like 12 or 15 different states. I'm so glad. He is 100% the reason why we're able to tell the story that we're able to tell. We do have some historical articles that are on some stands over here, and as I wrap my portion up, I'd like to, do you want to go next? Yes, right. All right, we'll have Mr. Eric Kale from the Wichita Sedgwick County Historical Museum. All of this was done in conjunction with the Historical Museum, and he's got a few words.
Well, thank you, and welcome Benjamin and Hansen families. Thank you for coming all this way. Also, I think at least one more time we should give a round of applause to the personnel and volunteers behind the Sedgwick County Emergency Management. They are, in a way, behind the scenes so often, and this is really a great event to give them a little bit of the limelight. It's a great thing. We also want to commend the enthusiasts, the siren enthusiasts, who are citizen historians who have really brought the significance of these machines to our attention, and then to the practical renovation and re-implementation by Sedgwick County. So let's give the citizen historians a hand too. It wouldn't have happened without them. I'd like to invite you all to the Wichita-Sedgwick County Historical Museum. It's downtown. It's not hard to spot. It has a 170-foot clock tower. It used to serve as the Wichita City Hall, and it's been this historical museum now for about 40 years. And we have the privilege of having borrowed a Thunderbolt Siren and have it on exhibit there. And for you to see, we're open 6 days a week. We're closed on Mondays. But if you would like to get in and see the Siren up close, of course, what's better than this? But and we're hoping perhaps that the trailer will be parked in our little campus, Heritage Square, behind the museum for a time. But come by any time. There is an admission charge, but you can get around that with the secret password at our admissions desk. Thunderbolt. So we welcome you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kale. It's been a pleasure working with you and helping preserve some of our history in your museum. Before we conclude today's ceremony, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind everyone that the outdoor warning devices are not meant to be heard indoors. They are outdoor warning devices to warn people who are outside to go inside to seek more information. The outdoor warning system is just one layer of emergency communication. Always have more than one way to receive emergency notifications, such as a NOAA weather radio, phone app, tune into our local news media, which we do have Storm Tracker 3 here today. So please, before you leave today, stop by, see Ms. Teachman and her crew, and take a look at Storm Tracker 3. Social media and also radio. Finally, I'd like to thank Sedgwick County Fire District 1 and Wichita Fire Department for giving our 3 oldest Thunderbolt sirens a home that helps preserve its history and allow the story to be told. Next, I want to, we already talked to Mr. Gerald. Jared, I cannot thank you enough for all the time and all the help you have helped us over the last 2 years to put this story together and help us find the family members of 2 public servant heroes that we would have never known otherwise had you not brought the information forward. So look what you did. Thank you so much. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our media partners who are here also helping to share the story, and also they're always a partner to emergency management to help us communicate to the citizens storm preparedness, storm warning information. They are a huge partner of emergency management. We work with them all the time on emergency preparedness. Also like to thank the volunteers who helped put today's ceremony together. Jonathan mentioned our volunteer teams at the Community Emergency Response Team, our CERT, our Canine Search and Rescue Team. Also want to thank the firefighters from Station 32 here for all the work they have done to help this look beautiful and also to host this event today, so thank you very much. I also want to thank the Communications Department, particularly Ms. Robin Ferner. She put a lot of these graphics together. A lot of the things that you see, these boards, museum boards that are here, are a lot of her design and graphic work. So I did want to take a shout out and say thank you very much for making these look fantastic. All right, and I do have one other speaker, Mr. Chance Hayes from the National Weather Service. So what you may not realize is we are just in the beginning of the National Severe Weather Preparedness Week, and Mr. Hayes is going to give a few words on how this event will unfold.
You stole a lot of my thunder. Thank you, Julie. You know, originally I was going to get up here and then go back to Caddyshack, you know, when they were going to christen the boat and do Ted night, but I'm not going to do that. And I'll try and keep it short. Those of you that know me, I'm full of hot air and I can go on and on and on. It's an honor to represent the National Weather Service today. As we all know, this right here is vital to safety. I came to Wichita in 1995 to start my career. I started my career in Louisville, Kentucky, and then transferred here to Wichita, Kansas in 95. I am now the longest running employee at the office, now that we've got some retirees. These things come in handy Let's go back to April 26, 1991, the tornado that moved through Sedgwick County, Butler counties, and beyond. One of the most hectic days in history when it comes to tornadoes. Unfortunately, we did lose a few lives, but if we did not have these tools, there would have been a lot more. Let's move forward into my career, May 3rd, 1999, April 14th, 2012, April 29th, 2022. Without these devices and the education that many of the folks here put into your communities, there would have been a lot more injuries and fatalities. These things work. They play a huge role. And I'm glad that you mentioned that these are outdoor warning devices. They are. They're meant for outdoors unless you live right underneath it, of course, then you're going to hear it. Folks like me that's hard of hearing, just like the other day, they sounded the sirens in the community I live in over in Butler County. I didn't hear them. I'm deaf. My wife heard them. So we have to keep those things in mind. And I'm glad you mentioned our partners here with the media. And we also have some private weather company partners here as well. To coincide with these sirens, ensure that you have your phone handy with an app with geolocation services on so that you can use your phone as a tool to know where you are in relation to storm at all times to coincide with the sirens that we have above. If you keep yourself, the dot that shows up on the radar, out of the red, you're going to stay safe. That's the most important and the easiest thing that you can do. It is an honor to be here, like I said. The outdoor warning devices, this is one of them. There are many of them out there. Even your old telephone. It's a way to get information to your loved ones. I still call my parents down near Moore, Oklahoma. I mean, there's a reason I do that. But when I call them, they know that it's bad. The Thunderbolt siren, the sound is unique. We all heard that this earlier. Virtually everybody knows what that sound is. And we do resonate with it being a tornado safety device. Inspiringly, due to the commitment and the preservation of Sedgwick County, the Thunderbolt's history will continue to be written. And that's something to be proud of. And as a representative of the National Weather Service, that makes me feel good. Because when I come onto the scene, that's one of the most heartfelt things and devastating things many times that I see, is the sheer impact that weather can have on an individual. Pay attention to your surroundings, utilize the devices that you have to stay safe. So I want to commend Sedgwick County and your commitment to safety and to help keep the citizens here in Sedgwick County safe and work in partnership with us. So thank you very much. I got one more, but I'm sorry. This is typical me. It is Severe Weather Preparedness Week. We kick off Monday, March 6th. Test tornado drill will be Tuesday at 10 a.m., so you'll hear them all going off again. I'd like to encourage you to come visit the National Weather Service in Sedgwick County Wednesday evening at Northwest High School at 6:30 p.m. for Storm Fury on the Plains, a weather identification and safety program. And my last nugget, since 1990, when you look at golf ball or larger hail, 70-plus mile-an-hour winds and tornadoes, there are more of those events per 10,000 square miles than anywhere else in the country. So we are in the bullseye of severe weather, folks. That's why this is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Chance. All right, so that concludes the formal piece of this ceremony. Distinguished guests, first responders, you're more than welcome to join us in the conference room. Please take a look around. Again, visit Storm Chapter 3, visit the Federal Signal moderator that is brought here by Goddard Enterprises. And again, thank you so much for your time today and help us celebrate 70 years of public safety and honoring two public servants and their family members who really, truly has changed the way we do things, and their work still carries on, hopefully for another 70 years. Oh, okay, we got a couple more presentations. Yes, that's what happened when we did. Okay. All right, so what we are presenting to the families is these poster boards that are here displayed at their siren. They are each getting a plaque with that poster board on there to commemorate their loved ones. tells their story. They can take it home with them. I'll let you guys decide who gets to take it. Maybe you'll want to rotate it amongst family members. I don't know. But again, truly, truly honored to be the moderator today and help lead this ceremony. And it's a complete honor to meet the family members of Sergeant Hansen and Katie Benjamin. So thank you very much, everybody. And we will be around if you guys want to have some discussions. But have a great day and stay safe.